Liz Truss has been squawking to try and get attention ever since she left office. Every so often she pops up at this forum, at that forum. Now she's got a book she's trying to plug, and it will set up what we must do to counter the disastrous ideas of the global left. Of course, she's absolutely wrong. The division of the political world into left and right is something that belongs to, at the very latest, the middle of the 20th century. The left was a movement to rehabilitate, to give a voice to workers. And for the most part, that's been effective. And what we've now got is a form of extremism, a form of ideology, and that needs to be countered, both on the left and on the right. What we need to be thinking of instead is a new form of politics. And Liz Truss's contribution is part of the same old rubbish from the middle of the 20th century. It's divisive and it's harmful, as indeed she demonstrated while she was in office. I think this is going to be a book that like Nadine Dorries' book, will be almost unputdownable, and will be one of those books that I think will eventually find its place into the loo as essential giggle reading for those moments while one's waiting. And she's pointed out in a statement of one of her interesting statements. I'm going to read it. I want to share the lessons from my experience in government. That alone is entertaining, isn't it? And those international meetings where I was often the only conservative in the room screaming at Sergei Lavrov, and demonstrate that we have stark choices to make. One of them is to read the information. Stark choices to make if we wish to avoid a managed decline of the Western architecture that has presided over generations of relative peace and prosperity. It means nothing. It's verbiage. And she's talked about redistribution, business being bad, the anti-growth people like Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil, who have dominated politics for over a decade. They've dominated politics because the alternative was ideological rubbish from the Conservative Party. She says that Western culture is being questioned, even basic things like human biology. Well, the whole principle of academic discourse, the whole principle of intellectual debate is to question. We should question everything. Plato started by questioning what justice was, what the good is. So of course we should be questioning what human biology is. Of course we should question everything. And of course Liz Truss should be questioned. And the thought that people should not be questioned in power is probably what has led to so much of our stagnation. Because actually good questions at the time of Brexit would probably have sorted a lot of the problem out. You know, where do you intend to get this money from, Boris, that's blazoned across the side of your bus? Where do you intend to get that money? How can you be sure that that money is the correct amount of money? Instead, we didn't question. We took on board the propaganda without questioning. That, in other words, is exactly what is happening in Russia. People in Russia are not invited to question. People in Russia are invited to parrot and accept, or accept and parrot. And that is not the grown-up way, the mature way of conducting politics. And although I would hasten to add, it is the way that Plato recommends the ideal republic is managed. He was very careful that the people who are leading are the people who do the debate and who take decisions. The ordinary people, the demos, are just expected to comply and bake bread. And she thinks that Boris Johnson should never have been removed from office, so she's there with Nadine Dorries. That was fundamentally the wrong thing to do. He'd been elected leader of the country by the electorate. He hadn't. She should know that. And I think that's caused us huge problems. No, the Conservative Party had been elected by the electorate, Boris Johnson just happened to be the leader of the Conservative Party. In this country, constitutionally, we do not elect the Prime Minister. So, this sort of very casual writing, we're going to get more of that when the book is published. And I must say, I'm quite looking forward to reading her rubbish. Yeah. Truss is back. Truss is back. But it won't last, because none of her efforts to grab the headlines last for more than a day or so. She is irrelevant. And she needs eventually to accept that fact.